Hello everyone, the objective for this video is that after watching this video you should be able to solve any factorable quadratic equation by factoring. Now first of all I want to highlight that word factorable. Some quadratic equations you can factor, other ones you cannot factor. Okay, so we're going to go through how to notice that. Now first of all, let's kind of start with the most basic ones. This one says any factorable quadratic equation. Now start with the kind of basic ones where if you have a form of x squared plus, let's say another number, let's say 5x plus 6 equals 0, okay? If there's no number in front, there's kind of a shortcut that's a little easy. All you need to do, I create what I call a ma table for multiply and add. I want something that multiplies to this last term and that adds to the middle term. Well, if I think about the factors of 6, what things multiply to 6, okay? Well, I've got 6 and 1. Well, if I add those, I get 7. That doesn't work. Well, I also got 2 and 3. If I add those, I get 5. Ding, 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 ding. That's what I want. So you can jump, in this case, right to x plus 2, x plus 3 equals 0. Okay? Now, once you're in this form, the key idea is that if you have something times another thing equal to 0, either the first thing is 0 or the second thing is 0. Okay? So either x plus 2 equals 0 or x plus 3 equals 0. Okay? Then you subtract 2 from both sides. X equals negative 2 is one solution. X equals negative 3 is the other solution. Okay? Now the focus of this video though is learning the AC method, which is what if we have something in front of that x squared. Now the reason it's called AC is because our general form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So if there is a non-1 number that is there for a, how do we do that? Well, the first step is called the AC method to remind you that you're going to do a times c. Now, let's give an example of this. Let's say we've got 2x squared plus x minus 3 equals 0. So first thing we do, okay, well, a times c then is 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Okay, now the key here, the next step is very similar to what we did last time. We're still doing a ma table, but instead of multiplying to just the last term, we're multiplying to AC. So we're multiplying to negative 6, and we're adding to get, now notice if you just see a plus x here, it's really a 1. Okay, so what things multiply to get negative 6? Well, I don't know, you could do negative 6 and a 1, that would add negative 5. Again, or you probably already noticed the better one is if, let's say, I picked 3 and negative 2. Oh, yeah. Those would add to positive 1. Ding, ding, ding. This one didn't work, but this one works. Okay? Now, this is where we stop. Instead of jumping right to the parentheses like we did last time. So this is the kind of shortcut method. If you got no a, you can jump right to parentheses. Whatever two numbers were here, those are the numbers that go there, right? But this is where it's a little different. So we stop and think, okay, this middle term we know is equal to this plus this. So all we do is we rewrite it like 2x squared, and we add these two things, plus 3x minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Okay? So you just break that middle term into these two things that it adds to, right? Then we're going to do what we call factor by grouping. I'm going to look at this group, and I'm going to look at this group and think about what factors out of it. Okay? Now, 2 and 3, they're both prime numbers. The only thing that really factors out of it is they both have an x. So that if I pull that x out front, I'm left with 2x plus 3. Now over here, both of these have a negative. So if I just bring the negative out front and put parentheses around it, what I got on the inside? 2x plus 3. Ah, that's interesting that it's the same thing here that is here. Now, because it's the same thing in both parentheses, we can essentially factor it out, right? Now, to make sense of this, let me kind of over to the side show you another expression. Imagine you had the xy minus y. You could factor that by saying y times x minus 1, right? And that kind of makes sense because if I distributed that, that would be this, right? It would be yx minus y. Same principle here, but imagine whatever's in your parentheses, because they're both the same thing in both parentheses, is the y. Factor it out, so basically means whatever coefficients are left, it's kind of like, again, there's an invisible 1 here. If you factor it out, you got 2x plus 3 times what's left. I got the x and the minus 1. Boom. That is my factored form of the equation. Now, once I got the factored form, the purpose of putting it into the factored form is now I set each of them equal to 0. Okay, so then I solve this one by subtracting 3. 2x equals negative 3 plus 1 to both sides, x equals 1. And then that's one of the solutions is x equals 1. The other one, I got to divide by 2. So x equals negative 3 halves. If you like decimals, you could call it negative 1.5. We're good. We got our two solutions. So check out this problem here next. What I want you to do, pause the video, try to apply this AC method to factor it and solve it. Once you've gave it your best attempt, unpause the video, watch my solution. All right, you guys ready? Hopefully the first thing we did was do a times c. We recognize that as 3 times negative 8 gives you negative 24. Okay? Then I'm going to make my ma table. Now there's a lot of ways you can express that. Some people use x or a different type of table. But whatever you do, you figure out what multiplies to negative 24, what adds to 2. Okay? Negative 24. So let's think. Now because, here's a tip. If you want to add to a positive number, try making the positive number bigger. You know, because it multiplies to a negative, one of them has to be negative, right? But I know 2 times 12 is 24. So I could say negative 2 and 12. Let's see, if I add those, I got 10. Not quite. I also got negative 3. Let's see, what times 3 gives me? Oh, 8. Okay. If I add those, 3 times 8 is 24. If I add them, though, I get 5. I'm getting closer. What about negative 4 and 6? Ah, sure enough, that does it. Ding, 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 ding. Add those. So these didn't work. This one works. Now, remember here, this is where we take this and we split it into 2 places. We don't jump right to the parentheses yet. So I've got 3x squared minus 4x plus 6x minus 8 equals 0. Now, I do want to point out, there are 2 different ways you could do this step. If I switch the order, because sometimes you're like, hey, which one do I put first? It doesn't matter. If I did 3x squared plus 6x minus 4x minus 8, it turns out the same. And I'm going to show that in just a moment. But if I'm looking at these 2 groups, right? Again, 3 and 4 don't have anything in common. The only thing that factors out is an x. So I've got x. Then what am I left with? 3x minus 4. Okay. In this group, notice they're both even numbers. I could at least factor it out of 2. And notice, if I factor out of 2, doing what's really cool, I get 3x minus 4, right? And so ding, 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 right here, we should get the same thing in both of those. Now, let me show what happens over here. In this group, now I do actually have a 3x that factors out. So I want to point out, it's not always just an x in the first term. This one, a 3x factors out. Now, it should be in these first 2 terms, there always should be an x. Don't forget to factor out the x out of there. And what am I left with after I factor out the 3x? I've got x plus 2. Now over here, anytime you see negatives on both, factor out the negative. And also, this one is like extra factorable because the 4 factors out. Guess what I got? X plus 2. Would you look at that? Okay. Now notice these 2 look kind of different, but the same principle happens. The thing in the parentheses is the same, right? Now what happens next? Again, whatever is in front of the parentheses, that becomes one parenthesis group. X plus 2 times 3x minus 4. Notice, this is really cool. This is why I love math. Check this out. Whoa, the 3x and the minus 4, it becomes the same. 3x minus 4, x plus 2. These are the same equations, obviously just a different order, right? So, final step, we've got x plus 2 equals 0. We've got 3x minus 4 equals 0. So, what's next? You subtract 2 from both sides. X equals negative 2. Add 4 to both sides. 3x equals 4. Then we divide by 3. X equals 4/3. You could get a decimal if you like. It's like 1.3333 repeating. But boom. Hope we got these answers. And if you did, be confident. If you did not, it's okay. You're still learning. Just practice it. Rewatch the video if you need to till you got it. Practice a few more problems like this. And be confident that you can do that math.